In the new season, the devil has also evolved. Livestock became the devil's bait to attract villagers. At night, the villagers were forced to leave the shelter. The sheriff and the restaurant owner fell into the trap. A tragedy happened. Although the villagers escaped, they were terrified all night. Fortunately, they recovered a lot of livestock. At least they will not starve for a short time. When Jack came to the barn, the first thing he saw was the bloody owner. The sheriff knelt beside him, muttering something in a low voice. Jack untied the sheriff's handcuffs. The sheriff hugged the owner's body and cried bitterly. His cry was heartbreaking. I'm afraid only he knows the pain of last night. After the sheriff finally calmed down, he and Jack dragged out the body of the boss lady. People on the street stopped and looked at them with complicated eyes. The sheriff felt like a thorn in his back. He blamed himself for not being able to protect the kind boss lady. Finally arrived at the church, the sheriff carefully put him on a wooden board. Jack held it in for a long time. Finally asked the question in his heart, "You two were both arrested last night. Why did he die? But you are alive." The sheriff has been dealing with humanoid demons for many years. He knows that their purpose is not to kill people, but to make people feel fear and despair. After leaving the church, there are still many residents standing at the door. The sheriff did not look away, walked forward silently at this time. Aunt Tung, who rented a house together, ran over. He was also full of resentment towards the sheriff. Although a lot of livestock was saved last night, but the restaurant owner was also killed. This is simply not worth the loss. But the sheriff believes that he is not wrong. If all those cattle and sheep are gone, all the residents of the town are in danger of life. Aunt Tong did not continue to defend herself. He said this to make the sheriff realize that everything in the town is manipulated. The temptation of the humanoid demon last night is evidence. Everyone's survival difficulty is escalating. The sheriff's face sank after listening. He did overlook this point. Weird Mark knows the town best. After learning about what happened last night, he was a little broken. He had said it long ago. The town would surely face a catastrophe. If they continued to stay, they would be doomed sooner or later. After saying that, he slammed the door and left angrily. Ken, who had spent a night in the cabin in the forest, woke up and found that Jim was gone. Ran out to see he was picking vegetables by the lake. Jim couldn't believe it. The food was enough for the residents to eat for several months. It should have been left by the residents who lived here before. The two returned to the town with big bags of vegetables with smiles on their faces. But they soon found that the residents' eyes were a little strange. After Jim confirmed that his child was fine, he breathed a sigh of relief. In contrast, Ken's face was terribly gloomy. Did his mother have an accident? He forcibly interrupted everyone's speech. He quickly ran to his own tea restaurant and took a look around. He didn't see the busy figure. Ken finally accepted the reality. His mother was gone. Dr. Christie didn't say anything, just sat quietly behind him. I don't know how long it took. Ken finally took the initiative to speak. His father was also killed by the devil. He will never forget the miserable appearance. The reason why Ken didn't go to see his mother was because he was worried about seeing a similar scene. The kind Christie made a promise. He will definitely make the boss lady as tired as usual after turning around and leaving. The radio on the dining table automatically played cheerful music. Ken was almost furious. This was deliberately disgusting to him. But he couldn't turn it off even if he wanted to. So he just physically destroyed him. There seemed to be fire burning in his eyes. When the sheriff walked into the restaurant's warehouse, he saw Ken. He was pouring gasoline into a bottle. He had a bad feeling in his heart. He learned it after asking. Ken was going to the cave. It was rumored that it was the lair of a humanoid demon. He wanted to set it on fire and kill them all. The sheriff was also furious. He immediately decided to go with Ken. The two soon came to the entrance of the cave in the woods. After tying the safety rope, they were about to go in. The sheriff suddenly thought of a question. Could this be what the demon wanted us to do? Stumbling in the dark cave. If we really encounter a demon, we will definitely die. Ken actually thought about this question. But as long as he thought of his mother's fear before she died, he felt that he had to do something for her. The sheriff moaned for a while. He said that he was not afraid at all when the boss lady died. Ken then knew. The sheriff was also present when his mother was killed. He said that the boss lady was very brave. He repeated a sentence in Cantonese, although he didn't know what it meant. But the sheriff practiced it all night. When he said this sentence with a voice, Ken couldn't help crying, because the sentence and to take good care of his mother. He was still thinking about himself before he died. So what reason did he have to ruin his life? Thinking of this, Ken finally gave up the plan to force his way into the cave. Christy at this time really regretted it. He didn't expect the boss lady to die so miserably, but he just promised. How could Ken break his promise? Jack used to live in the boss lady's house and eat and drink for free. He was always grateful. He learned that Christy was going to make up the debt. He took the initiative to express his willingness to participate. The two had just started. Sarah came in with a skirt. This was given to him by the boss lady when he was working in the tea restaurant. In fact, she also liked it very much. She also said that she must wear it when she leaves the town. With the careful dressing of the two, the boss lady's appearance was indeed completely renewed. Just after leaving the room, Ken and the sheriff came in. Christy was extremely relieved. Finally, he saw the most beautiful side of his mother. At afternoon, residents asked to gather in the church to attend the memorial ceremony for the boss lady. He was one of the elders in the town. Many people present had been taken care of by the boss lady, especially the black people among them. The sheriff thought that the boss's wife must not die in vain. After the ceremony, the sheriff called his son Eric aside. He told him to come to help him tomorrow. He thought of a way to catch the devil. Eric agreed verbally, but in his heart he was very reluctant to take such a risk, because his wife, Curly's sister, was pregnant. This would be the first life ever born in the town. Eric was naturally the little star, but Curly's sister's morning sickness was very severe, usually staying in the bathroom for half an hour at least. Until this day, something suddenly changed. Curly's sister's teeth fell out for no reason. Eric was shocked when he found out. He immediately took his wife to the town clinic, but Dr. Christie was not there. Fortunately, his girlfriend Mary also knew some nursing knowledge. After a checkup, she thought it was caused by Curly's sister's malnutrition. Eric next to him thought that this was really possible. His wife hadn't eaten for several days. Sister Curlyhead showed a helpless expression. He really had no appetite at all. After sending his wife to the group house, Eric felt that he needed to talk to his father. Sister Curlyhead was about to enter the door, suddenly saw someone picking up rotten vegetables. After several people left, she smelled it curiously. She actually picked up one and started to eat it quietly. Tried the taste. It felt good. Sister Curlyhead hid like this. She ate rotten vegetables in the corner. It seemed that the fetus in her belly would not be normal. Bertha, who returned to the real world, was prompted by the message on the lunchbox. Finally found Mark's father. He recognized his son's lunchbox at a glance. He really wanted to know where Bertha came from. The woman began to talk about her bizarre experience during this period, from straying into the town to the demon at night. But the old man was already tired of listening. He just wanted to know where his son Mark was. Dasher took over that town. He didn't know how to get in and out. The old man was furious. He thought Besha was a liar. He could even make up such a bizarre story. He had just called the police. The police would arrive in minutes. Besha was completely dumbfounded. Even the family of the person involved didn't believe it, not to mention the police who had nothing to do with it. He asked the old man to open the computer. There was indeed news about the murdered family missing, but this didn't prove that he didn't lie. He was almost crazy about being murdered. He could only tell all the details about Mark. When he wanted to rescue the child trapped in the tower, the old man's face changed. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. The police must have arrived. The pleading expression was killed. The old man actually sent the police away. He even prepared a delicious meal for him. The reason for the change in attitude was because he had also heard about the child in the tower. When Mark was 6 years old, his mother began to hear strange cries. Among them were cries for help. A group of children said they were trapped in the tower. Not long after, Mark also disappeared. The old man felt that the two things were somehow related. Although Bertha's experience was incredible, But when it came to the child mark, he would rather risk everything. Believe that what Bertha said was true. Bertha felt relieved after hearing this. Finally, someone supported her. Maybe this was why he was sent here. The old man nodded in agreement. He said that there was something important for him to see. Then the two of them came to the dim basement. He said that not long after his wife began to hear voices, she actually began to see strange things. He drew everything. At this time, Bertha could no longer spell a single word, because the content of the picture can almost be found in the town. The old man next to him was still chattering. His wife often said that she was the chosen one. Her duty was to rescue those poor people who were forever trapped somewhere. Although she never succeeded, that his wife believed that she was not the first one to be chosen, nor was she the last one. When someone received a call from the child, then he would become the new chosen one. There is no doubt. Bertha in front of him is one of them. Jim in the town just returned home. The phone on the wall suddenly rang. She picked it up curiously. The voice of her dead son came from the other end of the phone. The above is the content of the second episode of the third season of Nightmare Showdown. I feel that this episode has a lot of information, but it seems that nothing is said. In the last season, Desha did answer the child's phone. I also saw strange illusions. It turns out that this is the characteristic of the chosen one. At the end of this episode, Jim also received a call. Is he going to become the chosen one? Lead everyone to escape from the town. Let's talk about it next time.